I had roommates. I switched multiple crisis apartments. I had roommates, man, that were alcoholics and would come home like fucking drunk as hell, and we'd start fights. I have broken knuckles and scars all over my hands because of it. I was just in a place of fear, to be frank with you.
What's up, guys? I'm here with Mr. High Ticket Sales, Mr. King of High Ticket Sales, Temple Naylor. We are here in Medellin, Colombia. Long time coming. Temple is someone that I've been close to now for many years, guys, and we've been planning to do this for a long time. And you know, I don't know if Temple realizes, but this is actually, we're coming on 4-year anniversary here in Colombia.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Time flies. Time flies. But I think a lot of people, Temple, you know, if they follow you, whether they start following you and they see your profile, they're probably like, oh, this guy is, you know, traveling the world and he's having the greatest life. He probably came for money. He probably, like, this is probably just another day for him. But that's, like, not at all the case. So I wanna kind of dive into, like, where you came from, the background, and how you got to where you are today, because the journey is, like, incredible. You're also super young, and I feel like, you know, I always like to tell people, it feels like you're just getting started. So let's take it back, dude. You know, where's Temple from? How did you get to where you are today?
I'm more than happy to get into that, and I think it's also a perfect segue to say, I don't mean to bring the mood down in this interview or anything, but it's really important for me to just state this, especially if I'm talking about my upbringing. I believe that people die 2 times. The first time is temporary. That's when your soul leaves your body. The second time is when someone says your name for the last time in Earth's history. So I want to give that chance to never happen and say it on the internet, we'll be around forever. My beloved grandfather, Thomas Naylor, has died in a plane crash a night ago, doing what he loves. And I just want to state, he was the last man's man. He is the reason I am who I am. He was a strong character development for me growing up. I love you so much, grandfather, and I'm thankful for everything that you gave me. So I don't mean to bring the interview down with that, but I just want to get that off my chest. You're the first person I've talked to in 2 days, to be honest with you. So that said, where I came from. Well, I come from a really small town in California called Fort Bragg. It's about 4 hours north of San Francisco. It's the nearest city. Nothing but wilderness and surfing. And I grew up, I mean, how far back do you want me to go?
So, like, I feel, again, first off, I'm sorry for your loss. But, you know, you come from a small town, and, like, a little bit about your upbringing, because, again, I think we know people in our life that do come from money. And it's easy to flex when you didn't have to work for it. But when you became who you are today, it was a long journey, right? You're a high school dropout. Like, talk about that. Like, what was that high school life like?
Yeah. So one thing I'll state, you know, I used to always say, like, I come from poverty and all that. And in America's terms, like, sure, I didn't come from middle class or anything like that. But being in Medellin, Colombia, and going to the barrios and seeing real poverty, I feel very disingenuous saying I come from poverty now, because there's levels to poverty that where I come from, I lived a fucking rich upbringing compared to that. So I just want to state that, because I don't want to be disrespectful to the place we're in. But with that said, yes, I grew up in a really small town. My graduating class was 16 people. It was very small. And basically what started everything for me is I had a high school sweetheart, and I was madly in love with her. I was with her for 3 years. And from that, she cheated on me with my 2 best friends. And because it was such a small community, like I mentioned prior, there was nowhere else to go. So it's like I lost my girlfriend, and I lost my entire circle of friends all in one night. And it was a really big turning point for me, where I never cared about building wealth or having an amazing life or anything like that. Like, I was just going to go to college and live a normal life, you know? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's where I was going to go down. And that was a pivotal moment for me, where I just went on a path of wanting revenge. And that happened for a couple of years, and eventually brought me to where I'm at now.
So after that happened, what was the next story? Like, were you like, okay, what was that revenge story like? Where did it start?
Yeah, well, I had to actually go back to my small town and live in a mobile home with my father. Didn't have a mattress to sleep on, or an actual bedroom to sleep in, excuse me. It was like a mattress right on the floor in the like little loft area. And that was rough. And being in that small town, I didn't have a car. The nearest gas station was like an hour walk. So the only thing I could really do was figure out how to make money online. And I went online, I Googled how to make money online. And back then there was no affiliate marketing, drop shipping, SMMA, remote closing, none of that. It was like coding, for example. So I taught myself how to program from this laptop in this mobile home. And from that, my first ever experience into sales, I guess you could say, is I had to cold call companies across the United States and convince them to hire this high school dropout with no coding experience that taught himself how to code and paid for my flight, my accommodations, my food, because I had like $5 in my checking account. And that was my first intro to sales. Eventually, a company, was Home Depot, funny enough. They flew me out to Portland, Oregon, and I thought I got the job. I did the whole coding test on the whiteboard, thought I nailed it. They paid for everything, my flights, food, hotel, transportation. I was like, I'm fucking set. They sent me back to my town. I was waiting every day for that response of, congrats, you have the job. 1 week passed, nothing. 2 weeks passed, nothing. 3 weeks passed, nothing. Eventually, I reached out to them. Then I wake up one morning, 5 a.m., I remember so clearly, and I check my email, and I see that they didn't accept me. So I continued that path for another, couple months, and then eventually did get a job. That job led me back to Portland, Oregon, funny enough, and they gave me the whole tour of the penthouse suite. That was the tallest building in Portland, whole 360 floor. They thought they were super cool, having the kombucha on tap, typical startup shit. They won me through. I'm like, I made it, this is it. They sit me down in the cubicle, and I hear the phones ringing, I hear the keyboards typing, and I hear the clock ticking. And I had this overwhelming feeling of there's no way, because I've obviously skipped a lot of backstory leading up to this, there's no way I went through all that pain, all that suffering for this. This can't be the end goal. That doesn't make any sense. So back at that computer, the first thing I did at my job was not work. I went back to Google and I typed in how to make money online again. And that was popping up social media marketing agency, affiliate marketing, remote closing, et cetera. Well, not even remote closing, to be frank, but I got Iman Gaji's ad of like, I'm a 17-year-old high school dropout. He was traveling all around the world, like beautiful women, luxury lifestyle. Like that's what I wanted. So that's what got me into sales. I started a social media marketing agency.
This is around 2016, 2017?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact date. I was 20 and I'm 26 now, so 6 years ago.
6 years ago, okay.
Yeah.
So then your first business ever was SMMA.
It was SMMA, yeah.
And you got into, if I remember correctly, the real estate niche?
It was actually chiropractors, what everyone does.
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
But I did everything. I called chiropractors, gyms, like med spas. I just, anything that I would call. And I would just call on my lunch break. That's what I would do. I'd just go, I wouldn't eat lunch, I'd just call. Wouldn't get any meetings, of course, because I fucking sucked. And I went back to my job. And I did that for about 4 months. And then I realized, okay, this isn't going anywhere. I need to take a leap of faith. And because I was making $60K a year at this job, which like obviously is not good for our standards now. But looking back, it's like I fucking made it. Like I'm 20 years old. I have no college experience. Like this gave me $60K salary. I'll take it. But I had no money because I was spending all my money on courses. So like I'd buy Iman's course and buy Joel's course. I'd just constantly buy programs to figure it out. So I wasn't saving anything. And I just eventually at one point I realized like this isn't working. I just got to burn the boats. And I walked to my boss's office after she was being a major bitch that day, and I just basically said, I'm out. I quit. And I went back to my Craigslist apartment, room for rent, and I had 30 days to figure out how to make money. And on day 29, I closed my first client. So that was huge for me. It was $1,000, paid for my rent. And then from that, I was terrible at fulfillment. I could not do marketing or do any ads for my clients. So I knew as soon as I closed a client, 30 days later, they were gone. They were not going to re-sign. So I was on this hamster wheel where it got me really good at sales because I would close a client, I'd get this high from it. I was like, okay, they're gone in 30 days anyways, time to close another one. And that's basically was like a sales job I created for myself, just trying to
The difference is you were working for yourself. And the other thing is you were cold calling, right? So you weren't doing cold email or anything like that. No. You were just cold calling people, trying to figure it out. And I think that obviously taught you a lot of the sales skills you have today because most people are scared to pick up the phone. Yeah. They have no idea how to conversate, especially in general. And then you're trying to sell someone a cold lead, which is crazy. And then I would say you and I got connected because you were kind of going through this hamster wheel in a sense, and then Joel offered you a sales job, right?
Yeah. Well, what happened is this was fast forward a couple years after. So I was doing that. Eventually, I got well known in like these Facebook groups. I was getting pretty good at sales. So all these other 20-year-olds that bought these social media marketing courses, they couldn't sell. So like, I'll bring you the lead, And you close it. And I was like, yeah, I'll close it, but I'm gonna take 75%. And they're like, yeah, steal. So I was taking 75% commission. I don't have to do any marketing. That's how I started making my first 10K a month online. There was then a guy, I'll give him credit, Rob Quinn.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me and he basically said, hey man, you're like stealing all my clients, my program. Why don't we just like partner up? And I was like, sure. And he flew me out to Kansas City. I just flew there on a dime's notice. Didn't know anyone, just started over from scratch. We started a business. It did fairly well for two people that had no idea what they were doing. And then from that eventually quit and failed. So I went back to starting a social media marketing agency. And then what happened is I bought Joel's program. And back then it was like Justin Saunders, Robbie Abuvala,
people.
Jeff Seckinger. There was like, it was just us. It was like a crowd of 10 people. And I basically was doing well with it. I think I had the first strong success. I was closing clients left and right. And then I told Joel, I was like, why don't you just charge this program at $9,800? Because he was selling it for like $3K, which was nothing. And then from that, you just run ads and I'll close. And Joel's like, there's no way that's gonna work. And I said, well, just try it. And he did it. We did 100K the first month, and then everything took off from there.
So then you got into Joel's program, started selling, and then at what point, what part of you felt like I can't figure out fulfillment? Because I think there's a turning point for a lot of salespeople where they'd rather just sell rather than like figure out the marketing. Is that something you feel like you just didn't want to get into? You weren't passionate about it, or was it more like?
Yeah, man. To be honest with you, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds terrible because I was taking people's money and like that's looking back, I would obviously never do something like that now. But I was just in this mode of survival. I was living, because when I went to Portland, man, like I couldn't get an apartment. So like I had no credit history. I'd never owned anything. I was 20 years old. They weren't gonna give me shit. So I had to stay in these Craigslist rooms for rent. And dude, there was bad, man. There was like rats going everywhere. This guy would always bring in this homeless people and they would constantly come in. I had roommates. I switched multiple Craigslist apartments. I had roommates, man, that were alcoholics and would come home like fucking drunk as hell and we'd start fights. I have broken knuckles and scars all over my hands because of it. I was just in a place of fear, to be frank with you. And all I could think about was, how do I get out of this? So I wasn't really worried about fulfillment or anything like that, as terrible as it sounds. I just wanted to survive. Yeah. And closing those clients was my way of surviving.
Yeah, because obviously we'll talk about where you are today, and fulfillment is like, we can't survive without fulfillment, right? It's like impossible. You can selling is halfway.
All my money comes from fulfillment now.
Yeah, literally, which is very ironic.
Yeah, I know, right? 180.
So I think one of the things that I remember, my first introduction to Temple was the video of you cold calling. And I think that's a video that I hope that I don't know if you're gonna make a video of you breaking that call down, but I think that's a really good video of people to see, because number one, you're super young. Number two, you're figuring things out. And number three, you're just like, you're going through it. You don't know what the hell you're saying, but you're saying something right, because obviously they were closing deals. And that was my introduction to you. And now obviously you're getting more into the content world, which we'll get into. So you started working for Joel. That scaled like crazy. I think that was your first like probably really high paying job, right? And then I joined around then, and then things kind of started getting stagnant.
My first 20K a month to Joel, actually.
20K, right? Yeah, me too. So then that became stagnant. And then around, I would say 2020-ish, 2021, something like that, you then partnered up with closers, and now you've been working with closers and Cole Gordon for the last few years.
Yeah, so there was like a few offers I was on between. I did my own business, and I was doing like about over 150, 200K a month from that, but I hated running it. And then from that's when I got full-time with Cole Gordon and closers. Yeah.
Nice. So obviously one of the things I want to talk to you about is like people that are wanting to get into sales, because sales changed my life, it changed your life. We would not be here today. If you were to go back to when you first started this whole industry, 17, 18 years old, but it's today, not 10 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever. Where would you start? How would you learn sales today?
Well, the honest answer is you can't really break into closing without any experience anymore, because it's not saturated, but there's so many people trying to get into it that you're competing with guys like me who have been in the industry for years, and we know how to sell, and we're gonna get offers above you every single day. So I just would never tell someone to go against that. Instead, there's two things I'll say. The first thing is you need to get in a setting first, which is, if you don't know what that is you have the leads come in, you turn those leads to booked appointments for the closers, and if they close, you get a commission, and typically you're paid a salary on top of it. Setters, if you're good, make 5 to 7K per month. That's a great starting point. So that's what you should do above all else, because people hire, even my clients hire setters with almost zero experience left and right every single day. What they care about is coachability, hunger, and drive, right? So as long as you have those three things, you'll be fine. You'll get in the setting, and then eventually you can get promoted to closer, or you can go on another offer and get a closer. So that's the obvious. If you want to do that, there's people like Luke Alexander, Cole Gordon. They teach you how to get into that. So I won't waste that space here talking about that. But the second thing that was really pivotal to my growth that no one talks about, and it's funny, I was talking about this with Paul Daly the other day, to shout out him. is what was really tremendous for my success is I identified rocket ships before they launched. So for example, like when I started with Joel, I saw that was a rocket ship that was going to take off and that he was going to be huge in the space. And if I was the first one on it selling it, I would have tremendous growth and opportunity. So I hop onto that. Same thing with Eben Gaji. I closed for his offer for a while, and he didn't just launch. He didn't have a high ticket coaching program. Excuse me. He just launched it. So I saw that was going to take off. With Cole Gordon, I was the first ever closer on the B2B side. I knew that was going to take off, and he was next in the industry. So the biggest thing I can tell you is like you want to be almost like a talent scout, and you're looking out for these people that typically have like great names, great brands, and they're up and coming. They have a lot of hype, but they don't have an offer yet, or they just started it. Those are the people that you want to latch onto because that's where the most growth is. That's where you're going to make the most money. And that's what I've done basically, just hop rocket ship.
Yeah, I feel like I've done the same in a different way. But like if you don't, like let's say this guy's working in fucking McDonald's, right? You and I know so many, we don't know personally, but whenever we go back to the States, the thing that breaks my heart is when I see a young person that's stuck. I'm like, fuck. Two things that break my heart when I go to these States. Young people that are stuck, young people that are homeless, and third one is fat people, just in general. Like, well, you know, it's a whole different topic, right? But the young people that are stuck, if they don't know, because you know you're kind of in the space now, so if God forbid something happens to closers, you're good because you'll find another. You can identify. How do you identify a company that is on the rise, that has potential? Because a lot of these companies that struggle with sales, you and I have noticed. I mean, you coach a lot of them. They have no sales systems, and if you don't know how to close or set, bro, you are like It's a hamstring wheel that's just about to run off the highway and just die. So how do you identify a company that's actually on the growth that's worth your time, that's worth the risk?
Well, it needs to be someone with a name of some kind, right? So like I would never sell for someone that doesn't have a name. It's just not worth it to me. So it's hopping on with someone with a name of some kind, but they can't be too established. So and if they have like millions and millions and millions of followers, already have a program out there selling like crazy, the chances you close for that person are going to be extraordinarily low, right? If you find someone with like a couple 100,000 followers who's an influencer, and you can see he's just starting to launch his program, that's someone who I'd want to sell for instantly and I'd reach out to right off the bat. So it's just identifying people that have a brand, not too big of a brand, and they just started launching a program and you can see them promoting on their Instagram stories, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it may be. Those are the people you want to sell for.
Okay. So now, obviously, you talked a little bit about the fulfillment stuff that you do. You went from, you do still sell, but I wouldn't say selling is your main point now compared to what it used to be. For those who don't know, because I think a lot of people don't know, what do you do with closers?
Yeah, I hate this word because we always talk about this.
I get cringe. Don't say it.
I'm going to say it. I'm an account manager. So I know in most industries that means like CSM, like we're checking how you doing today. Anything I can help and support with? But no, I run the fulfillment. So if someone pays Cole $68K, I'm the one who's fulfilling on that $68K and helping them get their money back. And I do that primarily through sales training. So I develop sales teams through recruiting, staffing, and then training them up myself. I also work on training leadership because at the end of the day, if you work on the sales team but you don't work on the leadership, you're just basically putting duct tape over a leaking pipe, right? There's going to go nowhere with that. So I build leadership and I build sales teams. That's essentially what I do. They come in for 3 months. I work on that and then I upsell them $68,000.
And then obviously there's different levels to closers.com, from like becoming a salesperson setter to STA.
Well, that's his B2C side. I'm on the B2B.
You're on the B2B, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to flex here. Who have been some of the biggest clients you've worked with over the last couple of years?
Can I say that?
Yeah.
I mean, some big names are Jay Shetty, Ty Lopez. I had the pleasure of closing Jay Abraham. That was fun.
That's insane.
That was like my first ever close, I think, within like the first 2 weeks I started on the B2B offer. Some big names. I don't know how much I can get into that, and I don't know how comfortable they feel.
Yeah. But those three names are just like absolutely insane. And then, so people come to you, they want to build sales teams. And, one of the things I found interesting is that that you're not just really coaching them on sales. You mentioned coaching them on leadership. What does that look like? Because I think people think that's just like tracking KPIs and leading sales meetings. Like what is leadership training? Yeah,
well, I first discovered it. I mean, Cole obviously talks about it. Like, you got to give him credit there. But I discovered how important it is when I was training sales teams, and I would hop on a call review and I'd review their sales calls, give them a bunch of objection handling, and they would go out and they have a fire spurt for the next couple of days. It would just be on fire. Then by the time I talked to them 2 weeks again and I hopped on another call review, they were in a rut again. So then I repeated, gave them a great training. They crushed it for another week. 2 weeks later, they're back in a rut. So I realized, okay, there's something outside of me that keeps bringing them back down. I was like, well, who are they talking to every day? Their direct report, their manager. So why isn't he keeping them consistent? So that's what really got me to look at the importance of that, because before I always kind of looked at it as like just if you got a good player, just let them run, which is definitely not the case for a closer. So that's what started. And then what it looks like, to be frank with you, is the best managers look at it from a quantitative standpoint and a qualitative standpoint. So the quantitative standpoint is obviously everything that's important, like projections, proper tracking, end-of-day reports, submitting your metrics, everything that goes in with that. But what most managers miss out on is the qualitative aspect, right? So the biggest thing I can say that was huge in my growth when I was a closer looking back is I had great sales managers that didn't care about developing me as a closer, they cared about developing me as a person. Because at the end of the day, closers don't have business or sales problems. They have personal problems that manifest inside their sales career. Sales is a transfer of certainty, right? So if you're out of state and certainty in your real life, whether it be due to a relationship, friends, falling out, family issues, whatever personal issues you're dealing with, you're gonna have a terrible closing rate. So the best managers identify that and they focus on the qualitative side, which is developing that person to the best person they can be and just basically being their life coach. That's what it comes down to when it comes to managing a sales team. And the best performing sales teams have those types of managers.
I love that. It's not about making you a better sales closer, because at some point, going from 90% to 91% is like, it's so marginal.
It's marginal.
It's so nothing. But when you have a closer that's out of shape, I think that's a huge one, especially in today's day and age, or a closer that just...
Can I just say, I'm just going to say, I don't give a fuck. I don't know a fat closer that closes in KPI. I'm just going to say that.
It's very, 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 very rare. You know what it is? I do know someone, but not in our space. They're in corporate world. They've been doing it for 40 years. Because I used to work with one.
So they're sitting
and they're just like...
They've been eating.
In our space, it's impossible. In our space, it's like you got to be, we're talking mostly to younger people, I would say under 40, 45, relatively young, I'd say.
Yeah.
And
25
they
to
look
35.
at you. Yeah, they look at you, they're like, why would I buy from someone that doesn't take care of themselves?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the biggest one.
Well, the biggest thing for me, if I could just interrupt, I'm sorry, is like stating on that note, like the marginal increments. I've never read a sales book my entire life, ever. Wow. And I'm one of the top closers I know. So the biggest thing for me is what I realized is like, yes, you need to have a sales coach that trains you on the technicalities of sales and all that. There's a point where there's diminishing returns on that, right? So I think every closer should start out with that and have that from beginner to intermediate, so to say. What takes you from intermediate to advanced is understanding human behavior. So what I went all in on was psychology, human behavioral patterns, and philosophy. And that's what really developed me to be an amazing closer. And because of that, I'd read these books and be like, that would be a great sales frame or objection handle if I can like spin this. And that's where most of my objection handling has come from, is psychology books and philosophy books. And that's why when I hop on a sales call review and I'm training a sales team, like, how do you know these? Like, this is nothing I've ever heard in a sales training before. It's specifically because of that. It's because I'm creating my own versus most people's like, oh, let me read a book. Okay, let me use the same fucking line that they've heard 5 times before.
No, and I think it's also the best sales trainers I've found are the people that can make the best analogies. When you can like compare something that's just like so out of the world, and I feel like I do that with my sales closer now. But the one thing that I love doing is challenging people and by like taking care of themselves. Because if you can take care of yourself the way you've done, I've started this year, it's just like you feel so much better, you feel clearer, dude, and you perform better. That's the ultimate thing. And so you talk about qualitative, quantitative, and like, what have you noticed with sales managers when they're not doing what they're supposed to do? Like what is that conversation like? Because if they do what they feel like they're doing everything, they're like, the KPIs, like, it's getting there, but like, you can tell they're a little bit off. How do you have that conversation with the CEO to like, hey, dude, like that salesperson, the sales team is not performing. The sales manager, like he's tracking people, but what is that conversation like? Because I feel like that's a tough conversation to have. Yeah,
another good question. I mean, the first obviously standpoint is you got to give your all to that sales manager first, right? Like you got to give him every possible chance. There comes a point though where at the end of the day is I'm not loyal to the sales manager, I'm loyal to the business. So the business is the one who's paying, right? The CEO is the one who's paying 68K, he's paying for a result. So whatever I have to do to get that result, I will do. I mean, that's just the end of the day. So if I give my all to the sales manager, I have to have a conversation with the CEO. Now, I'm obviously not going to do that over text. I'm just going to hop on a one-on-one. I'm just going to say, hey, I don't know if you've looked into this. I don't know if you've spotted this. I'm not saying he's past far gone or he's not savable, but this is what I'm knowing. This is a hindrance to your result in your sales team. And I'm just going to lay it out point blank.
Boom, just the way they have to do it. You talked about mentorship a little bit earlier. What are some of the biggest things you've learned from Cole Gordon? Because I feel like Cole is like, I don't want to say slept on because he's obviously a lot bigger than he is, but I also feel like compared to most gurus, he's still slept on.
Yeah. People don't realize how much he makes.
They don't realize how much he makes. They don't realize the influence he has. Obviously, Closers is a ginormous company, but like, what are some of the things that he's taught you over the years? Because I feel like he's been probably one of the most influential people for you in the last couple of years.
I mean, there's a lot of things, man. Obviously, just a lot of little things along the way. I think the two biggest things is you know, Cole will even say this to his own clients. So it's like, I'm not saying anything here. When I got him as a manager, he had no managing experience. So I was the first person like they ever had to like, I mean, he was managing the B2C side, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But like for the B2B side, like I was working with him one-on-one. No one else really in the company has got that opportunity that I know of to the degree. So I feel like I've worked with him the longest personally. And he just came from the traffic and funnels world, and everyone knows the secrets there on how harsh the management is. Yeah. So he was very, very harsh on me going up. And you know, at the time I hated it, and I like thought about quitting almost every other day. But looking back, it was probably one of the best things is he was a fucking drill sergeant. Like he did not let anything slide. I remember, dude, there's this one time I was in Miami, and I was at the beach with this hot girl on a Sunday, and I was like, dude, I'm having the time of my life. I just made like $30K a month in commissions. I'm chilling. And I just look at my phone, get out of the water, and I just see like 20 texts of Cole blowing me up about a call and just roasting me about it. They decided to pull randomly on a Sunday. Yeah. So that level of aggression was actually really helpful above all, to be frank with you. Now he's much more toned down, and he'll laugh about it. But the two biggest things outside of that was, one is being proactive, not reactive. So the biggest issue is like in sales, especially fulfillment from what I've noticed, right? Is like if you have 60 clients that are all hitting you up first with their personal problems, your life is going to be hell. You can't avoid client problems. So I think it's a terrible way of looking at it. You can try to diminish them as much as possible, but they're going to happen. So instead you want to be reactive, where if you're reaching out to 60 clients first and checking with them and then finding about their problems before they do, they're going to look at you as a messiah and be thankful for you opposed to hate you and blame you. That was the biggest switching point for me. And that's obviously really important in sales too in terms of hitting projections, right? It's like you got to be proactive, take everything in your own personal control. You do not wait for booked appointments. You set your own, you hit follow up, you do whatever it takes. And that leads into the second point, which is he always told me, and this really developed really strongly with me. He always told me, you perform no matter what. Temple Naylor performs under any condition. He doesn't need any morning formula. He doesn't need a morning routine, anything like that. He can perform under any condition, no matter how he feels, no matter what's going on in his personal life. He performs, and he just ingrained that into my mentality, and it was super helpful. Like one day, an example of that was it was the last day of the month. I was 4 deals behind from hitting projections. I had 4 calls left. That day, I woke up with the worst food poisoning in my life, and I was puking like crazy. I would literally talk to the prospect, put my camera on mute, my camera off, my microphone on mute, and I'd puke in a bucket right near my desk, and then I'll go back to the call. And I did that for 4 hours straight, and I closed 4 deals back to back, and I hit projections. And I did that solely because I just remember what he said. It doesn't matter how you feel, I perform no matter what. That's the kind of person I am. And that was a huge takeaway that he ingrained in me.
Yeah, it's the best closers win no matter what. They find ways to win, whether
best
it's on your
athletes,
own.
best anyone.
Exactly, 100%. No matter what happens in your life, like you find a way to win. That's just winner mentality, right? So I vividly remember when you first became, when you first went to work with Cole, and I heard about the strictness of the meetings and how Cole was. Like, do you feel like that is more effective than being, like, having more chill meetings, but everybody's on the same page? Like, if you were to run meetings today, if you were on your own company,
you don't want a pendulum swing back and forth, right? So I think the best leaders are the harshest leaders and the kindest leaders, right? They're kind to you when you deserve it. They're harsh to you when you need to hear it. I'll say that style of leadership that I had, I don't think and I think Cole said the same thing. I don't think it's conducive to growing a massive team, to be frank with you, because you're going to have a lot of burnout. I mean, look at traffic and funnels, right? They're well known for basically losing employees left and right. All their best players quit. They're not fired. It tells you something, right? So with that, I don't think it's conducive to growing a massive team. I think though that style of leadership is conducive, to building A players, to be frank with you. So like the select few that use that, like myself and Rise It, they'll do tremendous things from it. So that's what I'll say there. But yes, if you're going to grow a massive sales team, I think there's better ways to grow a team. And Cole's noticed that, and he's pivoted. Now he grows an amazing team because of that.
Yeah, I think it's just interesting because I wouldn't say I came from that world in the car sales world. So it's a very car sales mentality, just like, being on your ass. And I think you're right. It does make A players, but when we had a big sales team, I vividly remember going through that same thing with Mike at the car dealership in 2016, and we had like 4 people quit. I'm like, dude, these are 4 like insane players. These are people I'm learning from, and they just couldn't do it anymore.
I will also say you can be as harsh on your team as you want, as long as it generally, not like fake, like, oh, I care about you, but like it generally comes from a place of love and wanting the best for them, right? So like if you had a friend and he was drinking and he wanted to drive home, you would slap the fuck out of him right in his face and you would tell him he was being an idiot, right? But does that mean you're aggressive? That means you're a bully? No, it means you fucking care about him. You're trying to protect his life. I think the same thing is with closing, right? If I have a closer and like he's just not filling in his end of day reports, he's dropping the ball on calls, he's not trying to push past objections, I'm going to call him out really harshly, but I'm going to call him from a place of love and rising his standards because I know that's not who he is. And I know that's not who he wants to be. So I will bring him back to reality through a place of love. And I think you can be harsh as long as it generally comes from a place of that.
I love that. I love that, man. I feel like, looking at today's world where we are, just, 2024, where the world's headed, there's just so much fucking opportunity. There's never been so much opportunity to become a setter, become a remote closer, and really like change your life for the long term. So as we sit here, like, what do you see the future of remote closing look like? What is that the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, like the end of the decade? I don't know how much longer this type of industry can keep going because there's so many other programs coming out. It just feels like SMMA was kind of dying and then Iman kind of rebirthed it. That's what I feel like. But there cannot be a rebirth every time, right? So it's like, okay, SMA is going to be, it's kind of on the uptrend, but then eventually it's kind of going to go down. But the remote closing world specifically, something that you and I are very familiar with, where is that headed over the next several years?
I mean, to be frank with you, over the next several years, I mean, technology is changing so fast, so it's hard to say, right? No one can predict the future. But over the next several years, it's not going anywhere. Let's look at this. SMMA has been around for what?
Long time.
6 years?
More, 10 years.
10 years? Yeah, it's like, and people are still, I still have clients doing a couple $100,000 a month selling SMMA courses. And that's like the most oversaturated. If you actually look, I was talking to Louis Alexander about this, good friend, shout out him. And if you look at the search results for remote closing or high ticket closing or online closing, it's like 60,000, which is fucking nothing. It's not even actually well known. And it's actually really hard to build a brand just off that because there's not that many people looking at it. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I can tell you because I train so many freaking closers, the majority of them suck. So if you're semi-good and semi-decent, which isn't that really hard if you actually try, you're always gonna have a job opportunity, to be frank with you. Where it's going, I don't know. I think obviously you're gonna wanna know AI and know how to integrate that into sales systems. Probably the biggest thing is gonna be going from closer to sales integrators. But to be frank with you, I don't know too much.
What do you think is gonna be, what do you think is gonna happen with AI once it takes over setting? Because I have a feeling that closers are gonna be here, but I have a feeling a lot of setters are gonna start being
Setters
replaced.
will be the first to go, 100%. Absolutely. I mean, they're already implementing setting systems, and I have clients that do use it over setters and get better results over setters. Really rare, they're the slack food. The majority of people actually, the results worsen for now, but AI is increasing so fast. I think setters will be the first to go. To be frank with you, man, it's like the way I look at it, and maybe this is an ignorant way, is like I'm just not worried about that industry because I know myself as I'm constantly developing new skills every single day. As long as I continue my skill set, there will always be a need for me at some point. So anyone who's like worried about the future is like, yeah, if you're focused just on developing your sales skills, I mean, yeah, you have an expiration date, of course. If you're developing your skills outside of that, you'll never have an expiration date.
I love that. What are some of the ways that you develop different skills? Obviously, you learned coding on your own, which is insane. And then you did a little bit of setting before you started closing, and then you started closing, and now you're getting into content. What are things that you do and that you would recommend for people to develop more skills than just closing?
Well, I think the first state of mind, man, is like you gotta want to do it. Because if you don't, like, I'm not gonna no one's gonna force you to go to a room and actually learn it, right? So the big thing is like, shout out to my grandfather, man. Like one of the key ways he developed me and grew up is he told me to question the world and question everything about it. And he was like my encyclopedia growing up, man. Like I remember just being like 10 years old, we would just walk in the wilderness for hours and hours, and I would just ask him question after question after question after question, and he never like got annoyed by it or tried to shut the questions down. Like kid, just shut up. Just like you're 10 years old. You don't need to be questioning stuff like this. Like he would like answer as through as he can and like be excited to answer and then like prompt me to ask more questions, and he would ask me questions to think about things, right? So I think the first stage is like you just generally have to be curious about the world and things around you. And because of that, it's like I've always developed multiple skills. Like I went through boxing for years, and then I got bored of that and I went swimming. I broke the record in like Northern California, the fastest mile I ever swam. I then got into sales. I then got into marketing. I then got into leadership. Like I'm always trying to learn that next level skill. So I think it just generally comes from a place of if you're generally curious, you'll know what you need to learn next and what's important to you. I don't know if I answered your question or skirted around it, but that's
do you have any like, so like, first of all is the wanting, right? Let's say someone is hungry, they want to learn, but there's so many books out there, so many courses, so many influencers. Like, are there people, books, or things that you would recommend for someone that is like wanting to get better and improve?
I mean, it's so blank statement though. Improving what? Because like I give
let's
you a
say-
fitness coaching book, but
Yeah,
it's not going to do anything.
That's true. So let's make it more specific. Let's say if they wanted to get in shape. So I wanted to get in shape. We'll do 3 parts that I feel like you're pretty familiar with. Fitness,
Mind, body, and
mind, body. Yeah, mind, body, and spirit, I'd say.
spirit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just made a YouTube video on this yesterday.
Yeah.
It's funny to see that. I mean, dude, fitness is like the easiest one to answer. I'm just going to ruin every fitness coach's career right now. So I'm in pretty good shape. You know, I got a sleeper build, so you can't really tell right now because I got a shirt. But if you go to my Instagram, I'm fucking jacked. And what I'll say, man, is like, this is all you need to know. If you're skinny and you want to get jacked, times your body weight times 15 plus 400. That's the amount of calories you're going to eat every single day. And then it's your body weight times 1.2 or 1.4. That's the amount of protein you're going to eat every single day. Every time you go to the gym, all you have to do is just get 1% better. So you got to increase your workout by 1 rep on the same workout or increase the same workout by 5 pounds. If you do that, you're going to look like me. That's really all I do. If you're fat and you want to get in shape, it's your body weight times 15 minus 400. That's the amount of calories you eat. Everything else is the same. There you go. That's every $5,000 fitness coaching course right there.
I love that. Sorry, every fitness coach out there, because you know, if you guys need to switch your industry, I know a closer that can help you guys with that. So I want to talk about travel and closing, because
Yeah.
I feel like you've had a pretty epic last couple of years, and it feels like I said it earlier in the call, and I'll say it again, we're just getting started, right? So last year you were in France for a bit, and I want to talk about, like, I get asked this all the time. I'm sure you get asked this all the time. How do you work and travel? Like, what is your balance when it comes to that? Because you're going to all these epic places. You just went somewhere super cool with your girl here in Colombia. We have trips planned for the rest in the summer and stuff like that. What does that balance look like?
Yeah. Well, last year I was all over France, and then I was in Mexico as well. I went to Cancun. I went
US.
to Cabo. I was all over the U.S., New York City a couple times, Miami, Scottsdale, Arizona,
Nice. Yeah, it was a lot.
Panama, Colombia.
Yeah.
It was a lot last year. I mean, it's a lot every year. Sorry, what's the question?
So how do you balance
Yeah.
work with travel?
Yeah, great question. Well, the first thing is I think most people, man, you know, everyone's different in terms of the routine. But for me, I can see is like, if I don't travel, I'm not growing. If I'm staying in the same bedroom, doing the same thing every single day, I get burnt out really quickly. I'm the first person to get bored. I think you know that
Yep.
about me more than anyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes to the point of noisy, right? So it's like, I get bored very easily. So working for me is my stimulation to keep work exciting. If I'm constantly going to a new place, I'm seeing new people, I'm exploring new things, I'm learning new things. What that does for me is it reminds me the fruits of my labor that I'm getting, and it makes me want to go back and work harder. So I'm like, damn, I want to experience more of this. I don't want this to end. So I think it's one thing every entrepreneur should do is just try a year where you just work and see if it's for you, because I guarantee it most likely is. Now with working, the reason most people get burnt out and they say you can't work and travel all the time is because they're always going to a new place all the time. I have a routine. So the way I look at my routine is I will have one country that I consistently go to throughout the year. For me, it's obviously Medellin, Colombia. I come here multiple times a year, and it's in a way, it's my home base that I go to. Every person needs that if you're going to travel. If it's a new country every single time, I can see you getting burnt out. It's great here, so I can come back. I have my friend circle. I have restaurant owners that I know, bar owners, right? I can just plug in. I know my gym here, everything. So that's the first thing, is having a home base and then traveling throughout in between those home bases. The second thing is you would need to stay in places for a period of time. So like I think a month minimum, ideally 3 months at a time. Otherwise, it's just too new and too stimulating where you can't actually lock into a routine. And I always, the third thing is when I go, as I scout out everything around me. So I make sure the Airbnb I'm getting has a workspace that is dedicated as a place I'm going to want to work, not that I'm like sitting at a fucking bar table, you know, on a stool. It has to have a workspace I'm going to want to work at. It has to have a gym within walking distance and a grocery store within walking distance. As long as I have those 3 things, I'll be set.
Okay, I love that. And then you've been doing that for a couple of years. You went to France last year. For those who don't even know, number one, you have a French passport.
I just got it. Yeah.
You just got it. And then number 2, your goal is to spend like summers in France and Europe, right? Is that a thing still, or is that like?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'll go to France obviously because
Yeah.
I mean I have a lot of family there, and I just love France. I think it's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. But to be frank with you, I've just stopped predicting where I'm going to be. I just know I don't hold up to those promises.
It's hard. Like I feel like I know my next 90 days.
Yeah.
But then someone's like, dude, August 14th, like, do you
Yeah,
wanna?
exactly.
I'm like, bro, I don't know.
Yeah, like Luke just hit me up and he's like, hey, we're going to Marbella, just so you know, in 2 months. I'm like, fuck, I guess I'm going to Marbella, Spain now.
But Marbella, Spain in 2 months is fine. If he said that to you, like, you know, this is why people send you like wedding cards so early, because they like, you have no freaking excuse not to miss this. And I was like,
Right.
oh, this is actually smart. That makes sense. So obviously traveling all over, like, what are places that you haven't been to that are like on your to-do list to go to?
Morocco, right off the bat.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom loves Morocco. She always talks about it. Russ now is like going to Morocco.
Yeah,
He's on the
yeah,
Morocco
yeah.
Heights. So like, I can see it's a beautiful place. I definitely want to go there. Japan is on the bucket list for sure. I've never been to Asia. Just because of the work schedule, it seems really hard to manage it calendar-wise. So that's held me back. It's been an excuse. But to be frank with you, man, I just want to explore the majority. I don't want to say every country because every person says I think it's kind of cheesy. And then there's
Every
countries,
country's
there's
crazy,
countries I
of
just don't want to. Like, I don't want to go to fucking Iraq. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I have no fucking desire to go there.
Shout out to your Iraqis, though, by the way.
Shout out my Iraqis. So I just want to explore the majority of every concept.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then one thing I wanted to ask you about, man, is routines. Like, do you have a morning and night routine? Is that something that you do consistently? And how do you feel about people that do have routines and, you know, stick to them? Like, what's
I don't have any routines for work. So like, I go back to what Cole was always saying, right? And to me, it's like I perform no matter what. So I don't want to change my psychology and rewire it to believe it needs a routine in the morning to perform. To be frank with you, as crazy as it sounds, like I feel like I make pretty good income and I train some of the biggest teams in the world and I perform pretty high. I just get up in the morning 30 minutes before my first Zoom call, shower and hop in the Zoom call and just get to work. That's really all I do. Don't eat breakfast and that's it. I think what's better for me is routines to nourish my body and mind and soul. So that's what I care more about. And for me, obviously, gym is physical routine. That's a no-brainer. My mind routine is philosophy. So I've really proud of myself that I've thoroughly studied every philosophy you can possibly study, from Taoism, Buddhism, Hermeticism, Jungian, you name it. I've studied it all very, very intensely, and I still continue to. So that's my routine for my mind. And then for my soul, it's, to be frank with you, is just journaling. I have a stack of books. I invested in a really nice Mont Blanc fountain pen. And I just write in my journals, and I want to one day have lessons in there and wisdoms, like my own personal scriptures for my success that I can pass down to my own grandkids one day and have my legacy with them. So that's really important for my soul.
I like that? Maybe write a book.
Yeah.
I feel like that.
I got a lot of stuff to succeed with first before I do that.
For sure. So I love it, dude.
You can ask me more, vulnerable, heavy-handed questions too. Nothing held back, just so you know.
Okay, because I don't know how much you want.
I am a fully open book for you and you only, bro. Whatever you want to know, I will go to the darkest realms.
All right, so let's go to the dark side a little bit then. There are a lot of people that struggle with like family relationships. Mm-hmm. How do you feel like you were able to overcome a lot of stuff that happened with your parents and things like that? Because I feel like everybody has family trouble. I have family shit too.
Yeah.
But I look at like you and like some of my friends. I'm like, dude, my family shit is like, my mom hates my dead grandma. It's like, it's bad, but it's not like nothing that bad. But I think a lot of people let that get in the way of their success, and you didn't. You came here this far. How did you let that like?
I made the mistake of letting personal grudges get in the way of family, and my biggest regret that I carry now, and I'll carry for the rest of my life, is I haven't talked to my grandfather in about over a year. And I've been ignoring his calls and his texts because of just some stupid family petty drama that doesn't fucking matter with anything. And I robbed him and myself of the chance of talking to him and saying goodbye. And I selfishly believed I would see him live through old age. So, what I can say is like, learn from my mistake and don't ever feel this feeling I feel now, because it feels fucking terrible. It feels gut-wrenching. There's no solution you can do to fix it. There's literally just nothing you can do but live with it and treat your other family members different, obviously. So the first thing I'll say is like, how to say, like, Alex Hormozy put out that video of like, don't visit your family on Christmas, stay home and all that. And I get it. It seems like he comes from like a fucked up, toxic family, from what he's portraying online at least. I think even if you come from that, I can't speak from his own experience, but I can speak from my experience and having my own family issues like everyone else. Letting that get in the way of like one time a year when you're just supposed to be with your family, and just like, I could have just called my grandpa on Christmas and I didn't, And I saw a video like that and I was like, yeah, like it reinforced my belief. I don't need to, I can just focus on myself. Business is more important, all this. It's just not fucking true. It doesn't matter. So I know I'm like skirting around your question here, but like that's the first thing, man. It's just like, call your fucking loved ones. Like everyone says it, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, I will, and then it happens to you, and then you're like, okay, yeah, I see why they were saying that. So that's the first thing. Second thing, man, is like, I in this industry we're in, no one understands it, like from our generation, from our parents and above generation. They just don't understand it. So the issue is like we expect them to understand what we're trying to build. We expect them to try to understand what we're doing, and the truth is they just won't. And that causes a lot of strife because then we're like, oh, they don't believe in me. They're like trying to doubt me. They're trying to get me to like go and get a career, like at a normal 9 to 5, etc. And it builds a lot of like personal tension. You just have to realize and come from a higher place of understanding. They won't understand until they see the results and the success. And that's just the truth. And it doesn't mean like you lock away and fucking ignore them and like try to build a success. I'm gonna prove you wrong. But you just gotta come from a place of love and understand that and know that they will understand when the time is ready to understand. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say on the topic.
Yeah, I think it's tough, man, because there's certain things that we just have to live with. And then at the end of the day, it was your decision, right? That's the thing. It's like nobody told you not to do so, to do so, right?
Yeah, and yeah, 100%. Like, you just need to hear that blunt. Like, dude, like, all my, like, other family, and then, like, Becker, who I'm living with, he's the only other person that's on outside this, like, he was just, like, they're all trying to, like, they're coming from a place of love, but they're like, oh, you can't blame yourself for that, and, like, you know, he loved you, all that, like, you just can't hold on to that. But I think you should. And, like, my Colombian girlfriend, I gotta give her props, like, she just kind of said it was to me last night, and she's like, yeah, you should feel bad. Like, that is a terrible thing to do. But hopefully you learn that lesson, you directly call your other family members that you're in strife with and have drama with and fix that right now, and you learn to not hold personal grudges and let that get in the way of love. And I appreciate that she just said that to my face, because you need to hear that sometimes, you know?
The truth hurts.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the harsh truth hurts the most.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's huge. I think one of the things that, you know, I learned about you as we became closer is just your relationship with your dad, because I feel like I have a really interesting relationship with my dad. And your dad is someone that, you know, first off, I think a lot of your friends want to meet because we want to see where the fuck Temple Naylor comes from. But you guys have also had like a interesting, you know, complex relationship. And, you know, I look at someone like you, Temple, and I feel like you came from like a dad that's in your life all the time. And that's not that your dad isn't. But then you find out like he was, but also you had times where you didn't have a dad and you didn't have a father figure when you needed it. And I at times relate to that. But like, how the fuck do you become the man you are today without a father figure that's in your life all the time and someone that you can call at any point? Because you literally had to, I feel like you became the guy that you wanted to become without the guy that is there, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to make the same mistake I already made with the grandfather with my father. So the first thing I want to say is, like, my father was an amazing father. And even in the things I didn't like about him, he taught me lessons through that of even like how I don't want to act and how I don't want to be growing up or how I don't want to treat my children. So he taught me lessons. Yeah. And he was an amazing father. And I know most people don't even get a chance to say they had a father. So I'm eternally grateful for that. And he's taught me a bunch of beautiful lessons intentionally as well in terms of dreaming and aspiring and not letting anything hold you back. Like, to be frank with you, growing up, man, the reason I travel so much is because of my dad. Because all I would hear from him growing up is how he went to Europe with $5 in his bank account at 18 and didn't know anyone. And then he ended up falling in love with this girl on a Greek island and marrying her for 10 years and then going on an expedition around Egypt and like all this shit, right? So it's like he put the sense of adventure in me 100%. And I am a direct product from that. I would not be here today if he didn't tell me those stories growing up. Yeah, I mean, I just want to say that, you know, I've said the worst things about him on previous podcasts, and I regret that, and I don't like that feeling, and I don't want to do that here. I think the one thing I will say is, like, if you don't have a father figure that you aspire to have, you will find one if you're open to it, and father figures will be around you throughout your life. And I've had multiple father figures throughout my life, right? So, like, obviously, outside of my dad and my grandfather, when I worked at a surf shop, and I was just building skateboards and repairing surfboards, one of my first father figures outside of my immediate family was just my sales manager. And he was just this 26-year-old surfer bro, long blonde hair. And I was super, dude, he bullied me so fucking hard. Because back then I was like, I've been really bullied like my entire middle school and high school, like to the point I would like eat, like you'd go to the stall and there's like shit over the stall. So, you know, like the back thing behind the toilet. Yeah. I would sit on that and just eat my sandwich every lunch break because I was scared to like go out and get bullied. Yeah. So I was so timid I wouldn't look anyone in the eye or anything. And he was the person that broke that from me. because I went to the stop and he basically, day one, he's like, dude, he's like, you're the biggest pussy I've ever met. He just said this to my face. And like, I wanted to cry. But he bullied me so fucking hard. But like, looking back, he bullied me from a place of love because he's like, dude, I'm gonna get this kid out of his fucking shell. And like, he taught me how to talk to girls. He got me into like to surfing and working out and like and doing more dangerous experiences to like build your own character growth. Like he was a huge development for me. Like I remember one time I was just so fearful, and there was this day, dude, it was like storming, and I'm from Northern California. You don't know what it is. The waves are fucking massive. Like they're like what you see on the TV shows when people are like bomb, like not that big, but like they're fucking big. Yeah. And it's like the water's almost pitch black. You have to wear a wetsuit. You'll get hypothermia within 10 minutes. There's rocks everywhere. There's great white sharks. The most great white attacks happen out there. It's like a dangerous place to learn how to surf. And there's one day it's storming really hard. It's raining, all that. And I was like getting ready to go home. That work day is ending. I was walking out there. He's like, where the fuck do you think you're going? I was like, I was going home. I was like, no, the fuck you're not. He's like, you're coming with me, boy. And it gets me in this like rankety-dink pickup truck that he has. It's like falling apart. We're driving alongside the cliff. He's going like 110 miles an hour, blasting Rage Against the Machine, like pounding on the steering wheel. And we pull it to the beach, and like he hands me a surfboard. He's like, you're learning how to surf today. And I remember just terrified. He just threw me out there, but it was like one of the best things he ever did because he made me overcome my own fears, right? So what I'll say is like, just going back to your original question, is like, if you don't have the father figure that you want to have, you will have them throughout older men throughout the period of your life. And I've had that successfully throughout the period of my time, is I've had men that have stepped up and saw things about me that they saw, whether they're a younger version of themselves, who knows what, but they wanted to help out and they want to be part of that. So I will say, even if you don't have a father, for the people out there, you will have multiple fathers. And I think it's a beautiful thing to have. Yeah,
I mean, I'm grateful. Like I what you said earlier, I so relate with that because I feel like I've gone on podcasts and said, oh, my family did this. But dude, my family's amazing. And even though they didn't support me at one point, now they do. And now they can't say anything. You got to the point, at the end of the day, the results, the only thing that matters.
Exactly.
You know? So it's like
100%.
But most people want to start a business, but they don't do shit. And they're like, my parents don't believe in me. And that was me. I was like, my parents, I'm selling Verve cans. And I was like, I wasn't selling anything. I was just like by myself, just figuring shit out. But
they try their hardest too, right? Like we gotta remember, like they have their own shit. Like we always 100%. Look at them like, oh, you're supposed to figure everything fucking out. We don't have our shit figured out. What makes us think we're gonna have our shit figured out 10 years from now?
100%. You know, like I feel like family, especially when you migrate, like my mom, my family came from Israel with no money. My dad,
same with my mom from France to US.
It's like it's hard. Like you and I came to a third world country when we already made money. Yes. That is not hard, dude. Like look where we live. Temple lives in a mansion. I live in a fucking mansion. It's like it's not hard. Imagine coming here when we first started our industry, our journey. 2016, 2017, 20. Dude, that's like a story. We came here and now we know what we're doing. We also didn't know that this was possible, of course. But yeah, no, it's interesting. So like you talk about father figures, like who were father figures for you that were not in person? Like any father figures that you learned from online, virtually, courses, YouTube videos?
To be honest, man, I've never liked idolizing a person I don't know. And the reason for that is I've met like celebrities or influencers I looked up to in the space. Like and admired, and I met them and realized they're like assholes and douchebags. So like I don't put any importance on anyone unless they're in my personal life, and I don't glamorize them. I don't put them on a pedestal. I think they're just people with their own demons, and they have either more success than me or less success than me. And that's really it.
I like that.
I will say one video that was tremendous for me though is Ty Lopez had this video that it was like 3 a.m. talking in my kitchen. It's titled something like that. Like you can find it, and it's like him just sitting shirtless on his kitchen counter at 3 a.m. talking for like 2 hours straight, just about the meaning of happiness outside of money, and the meaning of building a lifestyle by design and not building a life design around money. And that was a really big thing for me that like pivoted, that I wanted to make sure that my income raised, but my quality of life raised with it.
I like that. That was another point I want to talk to you about, because I think you're still soul searching at times.
100%.
And I think it's something that I think most people in our age look for it. What does happiness mean to you?
I think first, man, before you experience true happiness, you have to experience true darkness. Like I think most people that like haven't experienced that, they don't know what happiness is like. So like going back to like what like your parents, like us being the reason we are today because of parents, even their negative traits, is like I think that everything happens in your life as cheesy as it is, it's meant to happen to you. And like looking back, like my girlfriend, my first ever girlfriend cheating on me like that, dude, I'm so thankful she did. Like I wish I could tell her, yo, thank you. If she wasn't like cracked out in a trailer, I would. You know, not everyone has the same upbringing that I had. But from that, it's like I would go out and thank her. And it's like if I could press a button right now and eliminate all the bullying growing up, all the things issues I had with family, dude, you couldn't pay me $1 million to press that button. I will take who I am every single day. So the first step to finding happiness, man, I think is finding true darkness. And I think every man needs to go through either a physical, mental, or spiritual war of some kind early in his development. And if you don't, you're avoiding it, and it's gonna come no matter what. And I think a lot of those guys, man, like I'm not trying to get any bad karma myself. You know, hopefully this doesn't happen to me. But I think a lot of those men that like you see that were like had a wife and she cheated on him, or like divorced terribly and she like took half his money, or like those people that are like still haven't found a love, or they're like just at home on their couch and they just like go home and eat frozen meals. I think those people never really gone through something serious. I see those people like they had like an okay, like decent upbringing, nothing really happened, and they just kind of cruise through life. So I think you really need to go through a war of some kind, and then through that you can truly appreciate happiness, because happiness comes from overcoming war and overcoming battle and winning. Happiness doesn't come from anything being given to you, by luck happening. Sure, you'll feel it, but it's very fleeting, right? I think what's more important than happiness is fulfillment, and fulfillment with yourself. And I feel that greatly, and I'm very proud of the man I am today and the man I'm still becoming because of what I went through and what I overcame.
Yeah, that darkness shit is like, nobody wants to go through that. That's what ego death is, right? When everybody wants to experience like the best parts of like psychedelics. Yeah. But the dark side is where you learn. The dark side is where you're like, and that's just like a part of what you're saying. Because when you said dark side, I'm just thinking like, what is for your dark might be different than someone else's dark, right? Because if you come from wealth, dark could be like your microwave not working. You know, like seriously, it could be like something like that. Because we think of like, and then your dark could be someone else's light. You talked about poverty. Sure. You know, I said the same thing. I didn't really know what poverty was. Like even driving in East Atlanta, I didn't really come from poverty, but I saw what poverty was in East Atlanta. I was trying to drive Uber, and then you come here and you actually see what, like, bro, like these people are like eating, like a loaf of bread for them is like winning. Yeah. You know, and I think that's like hardcore. So if you, let's say if a person hasn't gone through darkness, what does that look like? Like they want to like experience happiness, but life has been good.
I think if you haven't experienced darkness, you haven't actually pushed hard enough to aspire your dreams and your goals. Because I'm a firm believer, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, God does not just give you something. Because like, oh, you want to be rich? Okay, son, here you go. You deserve it. My favorite child. He's going to, okay, you want to be rich? I'm more than happy to give that to you. Let's see if you can handle the other side of that first. And if you can, I'll reward you with this. So I truly believe if you haven't experienced darkness, you're probably actually going to have pushed hard enough for your goals. Because if you do, you're going to experience darkness real easy. Yeah. Failures, failed personal relationships, things are going to come along the way leading up to that goal.
People come and go, people betraying you, business not working out. To talk a little bit about the future of remote closing, what does the future for Temple Naylor look like? Obviously, you're about to be 26, which is pretty cool. So now you're officially closer to 30 than you were to 20. I don't know if you realize that's a weird thing to think about. That was the first thing I thought I wanted at 26.
Thanks for ruining my day.
Yeah. That was maturity today. I'm like, I'll win. I'll take that one. But so what does the next few years, approaching 30, look like for Temple?
As cheesy as the answer is, part of it's just doing the same thing I've been doing the past couple of years. Like the past 3 months for me have been record income months back to back to back. So that's just obviously working, and I want to keep the consistency. Consistency is a huge thing for me. Outside of that, man, it's building. I hate the word building a brand because it just sounds cheesy when you say that, and it inherently feels
like saying becoming an influencer.
Yeah, exactly. It inherently feels selfish, right? Yeah. And it's like, yes, I do want to actually have a brand of some kind, selfishly, because so far the little tiny brand I do have in this space has got me some big doors and some big connections. So yeah, selfishly I want that, but more importantly, it's like when I was 18. And I saw, not only Iman's ad, but there's this guy named Adam Horowitz, I believe his name is. Do you know?
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
I've heard of him.
He had this YouTube channel called Wolves, and it doesn't exist anymore. But it was him traveling the world, making money on. He didn't even ever say what his business was. I thought that was the coolest part. Like he didn't actually tell you how he made money, even though most people would hate that, I guess, in a way. But like he was just trying to like show what the other side of winning looks like if you stay consistent to your goals. And he would just travel the world with his girlfriend and best friend. They all made money online, and they would just laugh and be happy and like experience all these new things. And that was really pivotal for me because I remember sitting in this mobile home looking at that, like, wow, that could be me one day. And so I want to have that same impact for someone else, whether it's through actual technical value that I'm giving or through just my own life and seeing what they overcome. I want to show more of that and hopefully impact more people, that one day there's someone sitting in this chair saying, dude, you know what got me started is I was 18 and I saw this video from Temple. And that's what started this whole journey. I want that same level.
The only thing I'm upset about with Temple is that I told him to do this like 2 years ago. So, and I think his closest friends told him, but his YouTube channel is like, it's amazing. Obviously, you're good on camera. Then you have Icon and his team help you with the editing, and it's been like super cool to see. And I feel like it's needed today, you know? I actually found out yesterday, it's such a random note, because I got a really good tip from Pavel, who I just did a YouTube video with, and it's something you should do as well. He said that in order for you to blow up your YouTube and actually get viral, someone's already doing it. So instead of trying to figure out and sitting down and like, what should I talk about? Go and see what are the viral videos in your industry. Who are your top competitors? What is the hook they're using? What is the title? What's the video? What's the thumbnail? And then create your own version of that. The thing is, you and I are already kind of doing that. Like closers are not the first coaching program for sales. Closers take to make it better. I'm not the first VA company in the world, right? We're just trying to make it better. And I actually looked up.
Can't really be the first anything.
Never, especially today. Like it's virtually impossible. But like I looked up hiring Latin VAs. Bro, there's literally like 4 videos. So I think for you, like there's not that many closing videos. I think that, you know, Luke Alexander, he's doing very good.
There's very few.
There's a few. So I think there's a really good niche to go after. And I think with your story and just your results, man, like I don't know any closer literally that makes at least $40,000 a month. Like 50, but like 40 is like your now your floor, you know? To 50, 60, 70. I mean, you did over $500,000 last year. That's insane. Like I thought my 300K was like, and then 500K.
And that was just income too, which is cool, like pure take home.
Yeah, which is huge. No team, no fulfillment, no like you just obviously you do fulfillment with the company, but which is crazy. Damn, that's insane, dude. So obviously the goal is to just keep doing what you're doing now, but at a better, faster rate, building a brand that you've envisioned. And then do you see yourself, I get asked this question all the time, do you see yourself living in Medellin in the next 2-3 years?
You know, man, Omir asks me this question every couple months. For the past 4 years, it's about to be. And my answer goes like 5% more every single time. So no, not 100%. I don't know where I'll be from here. But as long as, you know, I had a girl that I used to date tell me this, because I would travel the world all the time, and she was like, what are you looking for? And I was like, well, I'm looking for a place that feels like home. And I remember one time she just like grabbed my face and she's like, look at me. And she's like, your home, excuse me, is not a place. Home is within the people around you. And that quote has stuck with me, and it's been living with me more and more ever since. Because like being in France was amazing. Like I was all over Paris, you know, spent $10,000 a week shopping. I felt great. I know you hate that. I like saying how much I spend, not to like flex or anything out of school, but because he just personally hates it. It makes me
cringe.
Makes me laugh. But like going out to the south of France, like I went to like these old Roman cities that were like in the forest that people don't even know of. Like I was the Temple of Aphrodite, and there was not a tourist or anything taking care of me. It was just me hearing the birds chirp in this temple in the forest. It was the most beautiful experience. I've had amazing experiences like that. But at the end of the day, nothing makes me happier than just sit around with the boys, watch the UFC fights, and just laughing, just making fun of each other. Like, nothing truly makes me happier than that. And you know, Andrew Tate said something that I thought was funny and interesting is the peak form of happiness is the same thing you do in the trenches in war, just sitting with your boys, laughing, talking shit, than it is what you do on a private jet, just sitting with your boys, laughing, talking shit.
That's it. It's
so
like,
as long as, I was going to say, as long as my friends are here, I see myself keep coming back here.
I think we're going to be here for some time. Obviously, people think like, oh, getting chicks. It's like, dude, once you get a certain amount of chicks, it's kind of like now I want a girl. Like it's funny. Like all of us are like wiped up, which is hilarious because that was not the case 3 months ago, let alone the last few years of us knowing each other. But I think that like just having the camaraderie of friends that all strive to become better, strive to become richer, strive to make the world a better place. You know, we have the charity here that we donate, and I challenge all my friends every time. I'm like, dude, you're rich, go donate. And he drops like $3,000, $4,000. I'm just like, that's what it's about. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, I think it's about where we're headed. So as we wind down, dude, like, I like to ask this question, but don't give me the cliche. Oh, I wouldn't do anything to change. Give me like a real answer. Like not when you first like I think happened with your ex-girlfriend and your first jobs. But what would you tell yourself like 5-6 years ago to speed up the process for you today?
I really believe I did everything right. I just sit on that so confidently. I think I did everything right. So yeah, could I have discovered closing sooner and got into that? Yeah, I mean, sure, you can play all those what ifs. I did everything right. I took all this darkness I was experiencing around me from my, failed relationship, living situation, in a job, everything. All this pain, and I transmuted that into something positive. And I always knew from day one that this pain meant something, and that this negative energy and this dark energy was important, and it was fuel and a catalyst for something positive if I transmute it correctly. And I believe I did exactly that, and I believe I did that job beautifully and perfectly.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you got you here today, right? So if there's a kid watching right now, like, going through darkness, maybe it's family issues, not coming from money, whatever the case is, like, what would you tell that kid? What would you tell that person that's watching the video? Let's say they're in high school, maybe even in middle school. Hopefully my audience is not middle schoolers or high schoolers that much, but you never know, So I do want to change the youth as much as possible. But let's just say there is a 16, 17-year-old that's struggling right now. They want to live this life, dude. They want to start, and you mentioned they want it. Okay, let's say I want it, Temple, but what do I do? How do I start?
I mean, besides the obvious of like pay mentorship, pay for people above you, yada yada yada, you really just got to believe it's yours before you already have it. If you don't believe it's yours, it's never going to be yours. And I hate talking about manifestation because like now it's like such like a trendy woo-woo top. Oh, so we'll manifest our goals and like sit and manifest riches. Yeah. But like I was in a manifestation before there was a single video on YouTube about manifestation. And what got me into it is my dad had a book on his bookshelf, and I just pulled it one day when I remember I was like 12 years old because the cover was like super trippy. And it was a book by Deepak Chopra. And it was talking about, people hate on him or whatever. It was talking about like the quantum science behind bending the universe to your will. And I remember being like 12 years old thinking like I just discovered across like Harry Potter. I was like, dude, this is like real life Harry Potter. Like I have a magic book. I can do anything with this. And I remember like showing it to my dad, and I was like asking about it, and he just said, that book is the key to achieving anything you want. And that's all he said to me. He didn't say anything else, and he wouldn't explain what he meant. And I remember I just read that book over and over at 12 years old, and that got me into it. And a huge part is like when I was going through all that pain, man, I was feeling all that suffering, I was like just the hardest I've ever been. I would still take 10 minutes every single night to close my eyes, and I would picture what it was like to have everything I have right now. And I would imagine it so vividly, dude, I would start crying. Like I would literally cry tears on my bed from happiness. Being in like a mobile home, feeling like, wow, dude, I have all this money, I have all these amazing friends, I'm traveling the world, there's beautiful women around me. Like, thank you so much, God. And I would just like thank him and thank him and thank him, even though I didn't have it. And I truly believe I put so much of that energy out into the universe that it had to fulfill that empty spot that I believed was there, that wasn't there.
I just remembered something really important because, yeah, I think manifestation is huge. For me, it was The Secret, watching The Secret and the movie and then reading the book. And I'm like, it sounds so woo-woo. And even when we were kids, it sounded woo-woo, like Harry Potter. But then you realize, like, people are talking about their real experiences. The worst thing that can happen for me is nothing. And it's already happening. So why not picture and visualize? Yep. And that's why I'm a big believer in vision boards and, like, writing your goals on your phone and, like, all this stuff. And, just seeing things in person as well.
100%. And if I could also say one thing to answer your original question, is like, what would you say to that younger kid who's in a dark place? The first step to being in a dark place is there's 3 steps. Okay, so I'll actually give you a thought because I just made a YouTube video on this yesterday. It's fresh on my mind. The first step is realizing you're already dead and just to give up. And I know that sounds super pessimistic and dark, like, what the fuck, Temple? Like, that is complete opposite of what you just said earlier. But it's the truth, because for the first time in your life, you're actually free. Because you're already at rock bottom. You have nothing more to lose. You don't have to fear rejection from going out to talk to that girl or starting that business. You don't have to fear failure. You don't have to fear things getting worse. You don't have to fear any negative limitation. For the first time in your life, you are truly free. I don't have that freedom. You have a level of freedom for that person out there that I don't have, that I'm jealous of almost, to be frank. I have a lot to lose. I have a lot to lose. And you don't. And that's an amazing thing because for the first time, you have a blank, clear canvas in your life and you can pay anything you want. So that's the first thing, is realizing you're dead and for the first time in your life, you're free and you can act from a place of abundance, not scarcity. You can act from a place of opportunity, not hindrance. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you need to develop your mind and body and soul. So working out, we already talked about that. Mind, we already talked about that. And then soul, whatever it is, like praying, manifestation, get into it. It's important for you. And then the third and final thing is learning a income producing skill set. Now notice how I said a. I didn't say skill sets, plural. Reason being, man, is like if you're starting out and you're in a rut, you probably don't have multiple skill sets under your belt. So the idea of like, I'm gonna go start a business is honestly the worst advice anyone could ever give you. Because you're gonna have to learn marketing, offer creation, fulfillment, operations, leadership, sales. The list goes on and on and on. And unless you already have, maybe let's say you had a Fortune 500 career or whatever, and you left that company or you got fired, you're starting from skill set, that's different, right? If you gotta acquire one or two. But for the majority of people out, that's not the case. And what I did really well by accident and not by intention, but for you it can be intention, is I just learned one skill set and I said, let me go all in on this fucking skill set and just master it. And if you lock in for a year, and this is the final thing I'll say, is you have to disappear. I'll find it and send it to you if you want to throw it on here. I have an Instagram post that I've archived, and I basically went on there and said, I'm not happy where my life is. I don't have the things I want. I'm disappearing off social media. You will not be able to contact me for a year until I come back and achieve everything I wanted. And I posted that and I deleted social media, and I didn't log on to social media for an entire year. I was by myself for a year. I didn't talk to anybody for a year. And I fully locked in on the skill set. And I used that, and that's what propelled me out. And then I came back on Instagram and I had everything I had. So learning one income producing skill set and then isolating for a year is key. Because the environment that put you in the rut in the first place will keep you in that rut if you don't disassociate from it.
It's how you and I are here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can start a business today. You choose not to start a business today.
Yeah.
I started a business today because of the opportunity that I had in my hands and because of the sales skills I had. But I also learned underneath the company. You mentioned in the beginning of the video, you're like, go find a company of someone that's rising, getting better, that you can learn all these skills from. Like you now have those skills and you choose to stick with the company they have because they're just kind of blowing up and it would be hard to start from scratch, but you could do it if you. And then I
just also no desire. I love working with Cole.
I think that's a huge one, but I think like the thing you said is a couple things I love. You said one, starting a business is the worst advice ever. It is the worst advice. That's why I see people like, you can start, make your first 10K, but they don't say when like for Luke, he's like, make your first 10K, Cole,
with the skill
sales.
Set.
Correct. But when they're like, go find clients, fulfill, find a white label, it's like, dude, that is like the worst advice you can give someone. But the thing you said about losing, like you have nothing to lose. Bro, you, me, people in this house, we have so much to lose now. It's like, we can't afford to make a ginormous mistake that will take away everything we have. But when you have nothing to lose. Yeah. Like you already have family friends that probably don't believe in you. You already have a girl that's probably cheating on you. You already have all this shit. I'm just saying, you already have all this stuff that is
life
so
fucking
against you.
sucks already.
Exactly. So you have nothing to lose. Why not hone in on a skill? And I think one of the things that you mentioned, but I want to dive one step deeper into it, that changed my life at the beginning, and I believe it helped me get a job. Wasn't my salesmanship, wasn't the fact that at the time I had some sort of a hairline got back now, but it was really the fact that I was going to the gym. I think a lot of people are struggling every single day, and they're not going to the gym. They're not working out. I'm not saying go lift weights and go join CrossFit, but look, even just doing cardio. Like just that discipline, I truly believe when I met Joel in 2018, he was like, if this kid can transfer that energy to learning sales, he's gonna be good. And I think a lot of people don't even do that, and they get out of shape, and then they're like super depressed and agitate. All these people talk about it. It's just like you're depressed, but you haven't left your house. You're depressed and you haven't been to the gym. You're depressed and you haven't pushed your mind and your body and your soul and things like that. So I love that, dude. That's great. So one last question, my friend. We hit an hour. I can't believe it. I like to ask this to end the episode. Is what is one thing Temple Naylor believes in that most people would think is absolutely crazy? It's like, I can't believe you think that.
Dude, I don't know if like this is like, back then it was frigid upon. Now it's the same answer I kind of gave earlier. It's like, I truly believe, what do you want to call it, simulation theory, manifestation, praying. There's all these names for it. It's all the fucking same thing. Is I truly believe if you see the world a certain way, that world bends to that way. And I think that I have, like some people almost look at it as a bad thing. They try to label it as like a negative thing. Like, oh, that guy's like such a narcissist that he can believe like that. But I truly believe that everyone around me, that doesn't mean I don't love people or respect people or value them as high people like yourself. But it's like, I truly believe everyone around me is in my story. And I think that if you don't have that level of attitude, you won't find the success you're looking for. And a lot of people try to label it as a bad thing, as like narcissism, etc. Which is the truth. Like, I think you guys are all in my movie right now, and this is just for me. And if you don't have that level of belief, like for yourself, and I'm in your movie, and vice versa, I don't think we'll ever really truly achieve what we want to achieve.
Starting like you're the actor, you're the director, you're the producer of your own movie.
People call it arrogance because they don't understand it's just true inner confidence.
I love that. I have nothing else to say, my friend.
Cool. Awesome, man. I appreciate you having me.
This was a hell of a podcast.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you.
100%.